Hey, what's up guys? Today I want to talk about the Tiffen variable neutral density filter. Now, for whatever reason, a lot of new photographers seem to get intimidated by neutral density filters, and this is not to be confused with something like this, which is a circular polarizer. A neutral density filter actually dims down the exposure in your overall image. And this is a variable neutral density filter, so it just screws on the front of my lens, and then I can actually just change the exposure, similar to changing the aperture, but I can just change the exposure by turning it and not actually have to change my aperture. So what that allows me to do as a portrait photographer is it allows me to shoot, for example, outdoors on a bright sunny day and still be able to shoot with a wide aperture and a shallow depth of field and still do something like use flash and stay within my sync speed. The ND filter is also great for doing things like long exposures. Let's say you want to try to get that nice creamy look to the water, running water, and it's not dark outside and you want to do a long exposure. An ND filter is great for doing stuff like that. I really couldn't live without my ND filter. I have talked a little bit about them in the past. The Altura brand, I really recommend that you stay away from these cheap ND filters like this. This is the Altura brand that you buy on Amazon. It's like $10 for 3 filters. The problem with these is you're going to get a nasty color cast in your image. It's going to be very difficult to fix. In addition to that, you're going to struggle to get sharp images. These things really just degrade your image quality with these cheap ND filters, and to me they're a complete waste of money. I would not buy them. Now, the Tiffen variable ND filter is not cheap. It's about $150, $160. And optically, it's not the best on the market. Something like the Stingray is probably the best optically, but it's over $400 right now for the variable ND filter. And that's just a lot of money to spend. So with this variable ND filter, I don't really have any issues with color cast with it. The image quality does drop just slightly, but I use it mostly for portraits, so it's not a huge deal. It's really nothing that you're going to ever notice unless you're really pixel peeping. The reason why I went with the variable ND filter as opposed to, I do have some of these are the more inexpensive ones, but as opposed to a single ND filter like this one, which is a ND8 filter, is out of convenience, because what this allows me to do is instead of having to carry multiple ND filters, I can use one. So if I decide that I need to dim the exposure down even more, all I have to do is turn the filter and I can do that. I don't have to take one filter off, get my camera bag, find the other filter, put it on. It's just quicker and easier. Now, you do tend to get better image quality out of a standalone ND filter as opposed to a variable. But for me personally, it's just not that big of a deal and it's not that noticeable, because even though I am a pixel peeper, it's not worth the extra time and effort. Whenever I'm doing, let's say, a portrait session, if I decide I want to change my exposure, I don't want to have to tell the client, hey, wait a minute while I dig this other filter out. So overall, I'm really happy with it. I'm going to show you guys a couple of sample images here. You can see this image. I shot this at f5.6, and you can see that the background was still completely blown out. This was on a large shoot that we were doing for an organization. We're photographing about 200 kids, and unfortunately, where we're at, the park that we were in, everything's dry, it's dying. There were huge dirt spots all over the place, and so I wanted to shoot with a shallow depth of field so that I could try to at least blur that background some and make it less obvious that there were these huge spots of just bare dirt. But you can see even at f5.6 the background was blown out. So I threw the ND filter on. I was able to drop down to f4. I could have even shot with a wider aperture and just dialed the exposure down more with my ND filter. But I wanted enough depth of field because it was a very rapid shoot and I wanted to make sure that the kids were in focus. But you can see the difference in the images, and just by slapping that ND filter on the background, now it looks like it's relatively dark instead of being so bright out. The other thing that I like using ND filters for, I love shooting wide open with a fast prime lens like an 85-1.2 or a 1.4 lens. And if you've ever shot on a bright sunny day with a lens that has an aperture that wide, even at 1/8,000th of a second, it sometimes can be a challenge to not overexpose your image. And you can see these images here. I was shooting at a football camp, and there were just Gatorade bottles all over the place. There were kids standing around. There were t-shirts, sweaty t-shirts laying on the ground. It was just a really ugly, distracting background. And so I wanted to shoot at f1.2 to try to just knock all of that out of focus, but my shots were coming out overexposed. So I threw the ND filter on and had no problems. And you know, same thing here with these pictures of Emma throwing the shot put. There's kids standing around, there's backpacks. It was just an ugly background, but I couldn't shoot at, I think those were at f1.2 as well. I couldn't shoot that with that wide of an aperture without overexposing the image. So it comes in handy not only when you're using flash, where you've got to worry about making sure that you have your sync speed, but it can also just be used just in general, even when you're not shooting with flash. People often ask me, well, why don't you use high-speed sync? And I do use high-speed sync quite often, but the problem with high-speed sync is that it lowers your flash power. So there are times when I'm out shooting and I need a lot of flash power because I can't get the flash close enough to the person, or it's so bright, whatever the case may be. And I would end up needing 3, 4, 5 speed lights in high-speed sync to be able to illuminate the subject properly. For example, this image that I'm showing you here of Brian, you know, the flashes that I had, I didn't have an ND filter with me, and the flashes that I had were capable of high-speed sync, but I only had 2 of them with me. And so whenever I tried to light him using high-speed sync, I just wasn't getting enough flash power to really overpower that sun and be able to shoot with the wide aperture and knock the background out of focus. So what ended up happening was I had to stop my aperture down to like f8 and shoot. So, you know, if you've got a bunch of speed lights that are capable of high-speed sync, then great. By all means, it's a very fast and easy way to be able to still shoot wide open. But for me, I've only got 2 flashes units that are capable of high-speed sync, and the rest of them don't do that. And so, you know, an ND filter is an inexpensive way to get around buying multiple flash units. So overall, I am really, really happy with the Tiffen variable ND filter. Yes, it does, you do suffer a little bit with your image quality, but given the price for what you get, I think that it is a very good value and a very good bargain. One other thing that I want to mention is step up and step down rings. A lot of photographers aren't aware that these are available. And what these allow you to do is they allow you to adapt any size filter to any size front element. So for example, this is a 77mm front element, this is a 58mm front element, and this is a 77mm ND filter. So all you do is you get the appropriate either step up or step down rings, and then you can adapt these to fit a smaller or larger front element. You should actually get the largest ND filter that you need. So this is a 77. I regret not buying an 82mm, and then buy the step down rings to fit the smaller ones, because you don't necessarily want to get a small one and try to go up. Even though you can do that, what's going to happen is you're going to get really strong vignetting in the image. So you should buy the largest ND filter that you need and then bring it down so that you don't get vignetting. But that's a way that so you don't have to go out and buy multiple ND filters, because for me that was kind of a big reason why I was reluctant to buy them, because I was like, man, I got to buy all these different sizes at $150 a piece. That's crazy. And of course, there's a really simple and inexpensive solution, but for some reason, I've talked to a few other people who didn't even know these existed either. So I hope that helps you guys out. If you guys have any questions about ND filters or anything else, leave me a comment below. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.